the OBS thing. We'll just do that. It's fine. OBS. Late. We're very late. The one comment that we have is from Ost San, and it's just late. Indeed, we are late for the time, but we're also late for the actual date. Because we were supposed to do this Sunday, and then, you know, being a human in existence happened, I guess, and, you know, it just didn't work out. So, that's fine. Not a big deal. It actually worked out, because, I ended up just relaxing, which I think I definitely needed in preparation for the rest of this week, probably, because, I released my, the second ever software that I've ever written, like, big software project that was just me, and I released it on Tuesday, so yesterday, and finally, like, today we got it out to the actual user base. So yesterday was all rolling over the database and updating it and cleaning the database and getting it prepped and ready for people to actually use it. And then today was annoying the customer, the person who ordered the program to be made, basically, and going, is it good enough? Is it good enough? Is it good enough? Is it good enough? Because we had to take down the old system in order to prop up this new system so that people weren't simultaneously trying to update the database while we were making changes to it. And so people were without this system for, like, almost 36 hours, which is not a super big deal. It's got a user base of less than 100 people, typically. But it's still, you know, I wanted it to get done within, like, a 9-hour window of time. It didn't. We had to wait an extra day because of, if you're familiar with Tableau, the visibility on that wasn't 100% what it was supposed to be compared to the original program, so I was a very stressed out Weebo most of the week, and now I can finally just kind of chill and relax because I've wiped my hands of it, and then jump right into the next project tomorrow, which is another big project, but less pressure because it's more research development than it is an actual live product that gets used in, like, in like what everyone does. Anyway, so that was my week so far. How's your week going? You said that with not the swimmingly tone. Yeah. You also have a software release? Because that's what it sounds like. Oh. Ooh, I just sent an email to the users going, it's live now, go to this link, follow the install instructions, and that was it. I didn't get any champagne, no chocolate fountain, no ribbon cutting ceremony. I'm kind of jealous here. What's up? Oh. You know what I just realized is that, you're muted, so I'm just talking to myself here.
Damn it, woman!
I'm sorry. Cat, get out of the way. You're distracting me, and that's why I can't tell that desktop audio is
Was I muted in Obis?
Yeah, you were.
Why do you have your other people? Fucking hell.
Okay, so, well, because I record everything through Obis, so when I'm recording, footage, I turn off desktop audio, because on multiple occasions, I've been recording through Obis, and, like, something happens in the background that triggers desktop audio that gets recorded and picked up by Obis as the recording is going through.
Yeah.
And so the audio's messed up. And it's a problem. So I apologize, guys. Thanks for letting me know. That's why I watched the chat. Because I'm a filthy zoomer.
No, that's why I watch chat too. Because it's like, you know, just did AAA. and I have got to figure out some kind of leveling,
Yeah.
audio equalization, something.
Oh,
And I'm not gonna lie, it's beyond my ability to pull off effectively on a day-to-day basis
yeah.
because I don't really change very much. So look, I'll be in Discord and I'll change the audio levels because everyone's being very, very loud.
Right.
And I just want to turn it down because I can hear everybody just fine at half that volume.
Right.
So I'll turn it down, but then I'm doing a stream the next day, and so there's like 7 different volume levels that are associated with, you know what I mean? What the incoming volume of anyone's captured being on a stream, be it like Far and Sam or yourself or Quiz on Noir Bar or Drunkle and Sinatra on AAA. Like I said, there's the Windows audio level, the Discord audio level, the fucking OBS audio level.
Yeah.
And OBS, the whole, is taking all of those different... This is beyond me, man. I need like a master audio adjuster, or some people say just run it all through a mixing board, which is a suggestion I've gotten. And it's like, okay, but wait a minute. There's still going to be the 7 or 8 preset volumes that are going into the mixing board beforehand, even if it's a virtual one. So I don't know.
OBS is open source, right? At least I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, it
open
is.
source.
Oh yeah, yeah. OBS demo. Yeah.
I have been contemplating messing around with it in such a way as to like outfit it with all the things that I personally would like to have, tweaking it so that it doesn't have all the limitations that it does currently have, and seeing how that works. Because it integrates with YouTube very nicely, or it is capable of doing that. I wouldn't say necessarily nicely all the time. And there are some things about OBS that I would like to be better, let's just say. Like, for instance, my camera wouldn't work yesterday when I tried to turn on OBS. I had to restart the entire system, and
Was it detecting your camera?
it was detecting it, but the camera wasn't displaying in the OBS display despite me restarting everything. So I had to restart the computer itself, and that fixed the issue. But at the same time, why did the issue happen in the first place? I can't, as far as I know, there are no logs that I can go check to see if that was the issue or what have you. But I'd like to like look under the hood, at the very least, look under the hood to see why things happen the way that they do in certain cases, and then additionally tweak it just ever so slightly in places where I definitely want improvements.
I would be fully down for this because I would be the guy going, you know what you should do? you know.
Get your butt out of the camera.
I have been led to believe that there are all kinds of widgets that you can plug into OBS.
There are, yes.
That Eve knows all about them, and I should really, get after her in terms of like asking questions and whatnot. The one that really interests me is the Streamlabs associated one that will bring up, it's a widget plugged in, and you can like adjust its size or whatever, that will say the person's name, the amount they donated, and the text of what they said.
Right.
That would be fucking sweet.
Thank you for your patron.
Oh, that didn't last very long. She's struggling now. See? That's what happens when you want to love on me. I will hold you against your will until you're sick of me. And then you go away. Off. Sorry.
Sure.
I love her to death. But she loves me so much. Too much. It's better than hating me. Thank you the next 6 minutes for the donation. My clothes washer breaking down, car insurance payment, and my apartment resurfacing their parking lot interrupted me getting a cat this month. But I have my formal fall vacation in November, and floofs will be adopted then. I will post pics and video. Well, congratulations. Early congratulations, I guess. I wish you all of the best. Although, I don't... What exactly stops one from... Is it like a money issue that you can't get a cat this month? Or is it something else that's impeding that ability? Because the resurfacing of the parking lot seems like you could totally do it. Because the cat's inside. Presumably, right? I don't know. Just thinking out loud. But I'm sorry that you couldn't get your cat sooner rather than later. Go that way.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a money issue. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, you definitely want to be able to pay for the little critters, even though they're so damn expensive. You ever pay for a vet bill? Don't touch the mic.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry about that.
Don't you have a little travel kennel, whatever?
Travel kennel? I do.
Yeah.
You know what? Hang on.
You're thinking about it, aren't you?
I'm gonna close the door. That's what I'm gonna do. It's gonna get
Well, there you go.
hot
Put a cat.
in here.
Put a cat in the bedroom with some toys and some whatnots, and little kitty bed.
Ugh. No, see, the issue is it gets super hot in here, so I keep the doors open. So we keep the doors open so that airflow circulates, because the boiler room is right there.
Gotcha.
And it is hot. Like a motherfucker. So, we keep the door open, but that means the cats just have free range of the place. Which is nice, but not when I'm working and not when I'm streaming. So, I do have that problem. I had that problem today, actually, when I was on a meeting, is she just decided that she wanted to chill on the desk. And so she plopped herself down on top of my mouse and refused to move. And she accidentally clicked something on the computer. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was irritating. And I was like this close to going whoosh. But luckily it did not crack. But anyway, sorry. OBS improvements. Yeah, if I download the open source code, we can take a look under the hood and tweak areas that you yourself would also be amiable to. Polly, we can collab on that, maybe. Give me a list of your ideas that you want. But
Zach says Stream Elements does that, and I've heard lots of good things about Stream Elements. I just fuck the cloud, man. Like I want everything local as much as possible.
Right.
I want physical media as much as possible, and it's like, yeah, but you can just go online and then blah blah blah. And it's no, I want to handle it locally. Maybe that's irrational. I don't know, but it's how I feel.
Yeah, the older I get, the less I trust other people's software. The more into my career as a software engineer that I get, the less I trust other people's ability to program things correctly. And the more boomery I get about technology too. Does that make sense? No, not boomery. Mistrustful I get with other technologies. Like 100%, okay. I will never invest in like smart appliances or smart lock, specifically a smart lock,
or a smart gun,
or smart car. Definitely not a smart car. Like, I am vehemently against AI of any sort driving me around in a tin can death trap. Like, I'd rather kill myself driving myself a place than kill myself having the car drive me a place and getting it wrong, you know?
What are the things that Upper Echelon Gamers just did just like 2 weeks ago, did a great video on the evolution of pay-to-play and in-game purchases from video games to the real world to other industries.
I literally just made a video about this. I did. I was literally a pay-to-drive skit that I did at the beginning of my video. And, like, it was a really hot day, too. But anyway, sorry, continue. You were saying.
I mean, it is saving you the trouble of, like, the whole fucking thing. He ends up, like, one of his biggest gripes, and it's not, like, a personal gripe. I think it's a legitimate, like, yeah, fuck that shit, is Tesla's coming with features that are packaged in already from the factory. And the comparison was like, this idea comes, like, it does come out of video games. Video games are, when they were still physical, were shipped with all of the unlockable armor and abilities and whatever. Like, they're all in the game inventory.
Right. You just have to unlock them.
And you have to pay to get the unlock code. And like, that's what the DLC used to be, like, expanded maps and, new characters and other things, like new actual downloadable content. When DLCs now, and he goes through all these examples, and since I'm not a gamer, I can't remember them. He goes, like, it's stuff that was already in the fucking game inventory. It's not new to
Right,
it's already in everything that it's already in the game you downloaded.
It's a matter of something registering 1 versus 0 in some data repository within the game.
And that is morphed over to cars, and not just Teslas, but other cars as well.
BMWs.
Where it ships with a battery that, like if it's an electric car, that for this upgrade fee of a monthly fee that you pay, you can get 30% extra drive time out of your battery before you need to recharge. The battery already has the capability of taking that extra 30%. It's just been downgraded through the software.
Right.
And if you pay the monthly fee, they remove that downgrade. Fuck. And like the list went on and on and on about things about this car, abilities that it had already installed from the factory. You just have to pay to unlock them on a monthly basis. And it's like, oh my God, fuck this shit.
I've very seriously considered making my full career just saying a big giant fuck you to all these industries, and going through, like, buying the damn thing and injecting myself directly into the source files for all of the code for all of the games to determine how to best update the config file or whatever.
Yeah.
In order to jailbreak, essentially, the program. Very seriously considering doing that. Or just, like, in my free time, maybe. I don't know. Because there's going to be a market for that. 100%.
Oh, there already, well, I mean, for a number of things, there already is. So, yes, they're future visionary, Weebo. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and there's Samael in chat. What's up, Sammy?
It's the modern-day equivalent of Robin Hooding, basically.
Yeah.
You want to use your car that you paid for and some of the hardware features that don't get turned on? Well, I can help you with that. My little doohickey thingy here jailbreaks your car for you.
You know what I want? I want to jailbreak some shit that I bought. I fucking actually own it. I get the company's perspective on this. I just strongly disagree with it. Like, I get where you're coming from, but that doesn't mean I have to abide by it. Audible books. They're MP3s, but they're encoded in the container of .aas, Audible audio files. But they're just MP3 files.
Right.
It's just the DRM version of it is their AA format. Man, I need to break that fucking DRM shit off of there. It's all about, like, listen, I bought the fucking books. I have an Audible account. I paid for these fucking things. They're mine. Damn you. And I'm not looking to create torrent files and distribute them for free or whatever the fuck. I just want to be able to put them on whatever device I want to be able to fucking put them on.
Exactly.
That's it.
Precisely.
And I'm having trouble with that right now. It's like, well, this isn't an authorized device, so you can't play those books on this MP3 player or this phone or this computer or whatever the fuck. And it's, I mean, fuck you guys. We'll just authorize the computer. They make it a pain in the ass. They think that everybody only uses one fucking phone, and when you use a new phone, and then you have to use their player. I use Simple Audiobook Player. That's actually what the fucking thing is called.
Yeah.
For free from the Google Play Store, and it's better than Audible's audiobook player. But I can't use Simple Audiobook Player to play any of the Audible audiobooks because it won't play them. The DRM AAA or AA files won't play on anything but the Audible player. Man, I gotta figure out a DRM break for that shit. Stick says he used to use an MP3 converter to create MP3 versions of those files. Yeah, I tried dropping. I tried a number of really basic fucking things. I tried taking advantage of the what do they call it? What's the phrase? The if it's not digital, it's analog. The analog hole.
There are plenty of ways you can convert Audible files to MP3s, Polly.
Well, I mean, I looked it up on, like, the last time I attempted to do it, it was a while back, because I let my Audible account lapse, and then just recently got it back, and don't really want it because anymore,
Right.
because I'm paying more for far less than I had before, which is just a serious burn, man. My God. But anyway,
Right.
it's got me thinking about it again, because now I'm trying to, you know, have access again to my Audible library account. And it's like, okay, there's still the analog hole to take advantage of. At some point, the thing has to be able to play. So yeah, you can just play the audiobook and record it. That's
Oh,
always a fucking option. But
but
it's like,
that's
I'll be
like a
back in
last
16
resort.
hours.
Right.
Yeah.
And nothing can touch this, and nothing can notify, and nothing can go off, and it has to remain isolated from literally everything else. Because, yeah. You could do that.
Yeah.
It'd take forever, but you could do it. But that's like a last resort. But you could totally convert them. I looked it up. There's like a whole bunch of different versions and options for converting the AAX files to MP3s. So I'll take a gander, you take a gander, figure out a plan. First one to crack it wins. Because I have audiobooks that I would also like to have
Bishop says Audacity automated reporting us to the FBI for piracy. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, wait, isn't Audacity Audacity was open source, and then now it's not open source. Someone bought it, and any future updates for Audacity after a certain point, like they stored certain data of yours, from what I understand.
Yeah. I mean, there's still... That's why it's nice to have an old laptop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And to have what's it called? Remote version of software, or the exe file, the install file, put it on a computer that is not even attached to the internet.
Yep.
And then just do your shit there. That isn't attached to anything else. Which is why I think software... I mean, here's my cyberpunk dystopian vision. Oh, Weebo likes.
Every time.
Well, go tell off boyfriendo. He's the one who sent me the file.
Is that how the lore has evolved then? I see.
Well, yeah.
Interesting.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
I thought I had... For Christ's sake.
What?
No, okay, nothing. Boom, over here. This is what happens when you have 3 different browsers with 2 instances of each open, and 30 fucking tabs for each one. You get lost. Serpent21, thank you for the $3. Hey, Polly. After all the fun last week, I rewatched Reservoir Dogs, and I forgot how great Harvey Keitel is. He is. He really fucking is. Yeah. Can you recommend Bad Lieutenant? How intense is it? How graphic is the violence, drugs, etc.? Okay, it is intense. Harvey, yeah, I mean, Keitel plays 8. Whoa.
My bad.
That was surprisingly loud. How graphic is the violence? Not very. Drugs, intense. His general reprehensible scumbaggery, off the charts. I mean, he makes Keitel's Bad Lieutenant makes Denzel Washington's Alonzo Harris in Training Day seem like a nice guy.
And this Reservoir Dogs?
You said what in the who now?
Was this... Did I read that right?
Well, Harvey Keitel played Mr. White in Reservoir Dogs,
Okay.
but he also plays the titular Bad Lieutenant in a movie called Bad Lieutenant. And
Okay.
Serpent21 was asking, can you recommend Bad Lieutenant? Hey, Keitel's great whenever he shows up. He always brings his A game, but Serpent was asking how intense that movie was. Very. As much as I love Keitel, it doesn't have a high rewatch value for me because it's like I'm a super fan of Nick Pizzolatto, the writer and creator of True Detective, and it was his first book, Galveston. I mean, I love gritty neo-noir, love it, but that book and the movie it's based on aren't grit. They're a fucking gravel pit. Holy fuck. Like, I want my shit gritty. Well, be careful what you ask for. I mean, like I said, it's really good. Just, buckle in, motherfucker. Shit's about to get, like, nasty. It's... Okay, so speaking of authors I like that have their work adapted into movies.
Oh, so not me.
I'm sorry?
No, I was just kidding.
What about a tsunami?
Oh, so I said, oh, so not me.
Oh, so not you. Oh, okay.
Right.
I think you said, oh, so a tsunami. And I was like, huh?
No.
All right.
Yes,
I'm a big fan of...
anyway.
Anyway, I am a big fan of Bret Easton Ellis.
What?
It's true. It's true.
Say it ain't so. Polly, how could you?
I thought I knew you.
Oh gosh, this is a shock, really. I'm learning so many things.
It's true. I am a fan of the man's material.
Yes. Okay.
And his podcast. He's great. But anyway, there is his movies or books. They've tried to adapt every one of his books, but because the way they're written, they're notoriously difficult to adapt because they're all written from a first-person perspective. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, fuck, we watched all 5 Twilights together. That's written from a first-person perspective. And so what do you get? Bella over top of it, constantly narrating. The wolves were going to do this, and then the vampires with the Cullens did the thing with the people, and I was in danger with the whatnots. Like,
hang on,
because it's... how do you progress the story without Bella constantly... expositing, because that's the way the books run. It's like, well, it's difficult to adapt first-person narratives, and they kind of,
I vehemently disagree, actually, because there's a way you can do first-person adaptations and do it well. You just have to get imaginative and step outside of the head of the main character. Or whoever the primary perspective is.
I agree. It's almost like you should be, as a writer, getting paid for being good at doing things like
that. Hard. Now, if you're not good at writing and you can't manifest things or adapt things very well, then yeah, it's going to be a bit difficult.
Yes, Snoopy's not wrong. The voiceover is the lazy person's way of doing that. Mm-hmm. It could be highly effective, the voiceover, either because of adaptation or because of the kind of movie you're doing. Casino, non-stop voiceover narration of a lot of the characters, but especially De Niro's character, Lefty Rosenthal, and Pesci's character, Nicky Santoro. Mm-hmm. They are constantly talking over that movie, and it is an adaptation from Nick Pileggi's book, Casino. But it works because of the kind of style of movie it is, and it isn't taken right out of the book. It is to... It's an interesting take. They are talking to you as if they are personally trying... Like, that character is personally trying to explain to you, the audience member, what you're seeing on screen. That's a very different approach. Freedom. Hold on. Next 6 minutes. Thank you for the $1. Thank you. And I should get together with Monkey, Hammer, Irate Alex, Sam, Omegon, and Undoomed and read a creepy fan fiction of our sexiest... in our sexiest dude voices. The interwebs will get vapors, homie. Yeah.
Ooh, can I assign fan fictions?
I don't... Omegon is my second favorite voice on the internet. I've listened to his a lot of his audiobook readings because he does literature, mm-hmm. right? And he's fucking natural talent at it. Wish
right.
I had it. He just can read it and it does not sound like he's reading it. It sounds like his own words, which is the effort of doing something like that.
Right.
Bastard.
I bet
But
you could
the
do it with practice. If
I,
you
I,
know
I
that you
I
know.
I haven't thought of a Megan doing like something steamy. I think that might be weird. I don't know.
Well, cause okay, so when you're doing something steamy, it has to be in like a specific tone, and it has to be in line with whatever it is that said steam is going for. Cause like different steams have different um moods, I guess you could call them. And also, I guess if it's steamy, that means that there's more than one party involved. So, oh, this could be interesting. So who's because would it be you being steamy to yourself, so you'd have to be like switching it up halfway through or like halfway through the dialogue, right?
Right.
Or it could be two different members of that party going and back and forth again.
I Yeah, I mean the true Uber talent is being able to do it with yourself because you're capable of doing the different voices and not dropping the ball.
Right.
But I mean that's a rarefied individual that can pull that shit off.
It's difficult. Like I read audiobooks sometimes and you get a person doing both the man and the woman's voice, either gender, either which way. And it's very difficult to get a convincing masculine sounding voice out of a woman reader or a feminine sounding voice out of a masculine reader. And then of course obviously because I'm an adult woman person, sometimes these audiobooks have steamy sections and then that just makes it takes it to a whole nother level of awkwardness if it's not done properly, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So
Well, in my experience of listening to audiobooks, because if you listen to enough of them, you end up becoming a narration connoisseur.
yeah.
Or just at the very least, you know what you like and don't like, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, men are better at doing female voices than females are at doing male voices.
Yeah.
Not sure why that is, or if that's just an accident of the sample group that I've consumed. Women, I don't know, when they try and do a man's voice when they're a narrator, they put on this incredibly phony husky thing that just
The true talent is being able to do it with yourself.
Oh god, that's a little bit better, is it? It's like the true talent is being like, they almost like this raspy Clint Eastwood thing. It's pretty terrible.
Oh, I can do that too. The true talent is being able to do it with yourself.
Exactly. Just yes, that all jokes aside, that is exactly what it sounds like. And they think in their minds this sounds like a guy, and it's like no.
No. You're saying too much with the throat, and you're forcing it out. You got to do it with your chest.
And there's like almost like a secret talent that can be developed, where they don't change their voice at all, like in terms of how high pitched it is. They just change the way they're talking for female characters. And even somebody said this, because if you want to do a female voice, don't worry about the pitch. Worry about the cadence and the way you're talking. That has more to do with it than how high pitched it is. Because there's lots of women without high pitched voices, but they still sound like women. And I'm like, I believe you, but I don't know what you mean. And I've listened to people that like audiobooks where the person does not change their tone. But when they read women, they read it differently, and your mind totally accepts it as this is a woman talking, even though it's in a man's depth of voice, but they're saying it differently. I don't know what it is they're doing. They make reference to the way they say it, the cadence they say it with. I don't know what these words mean, but they're able to pull it off. And it's cool. It's very cool.
I think when I eventually, in like 20 years, finish writing any book that I ever write, and I eventually like transition it over to an audiobook, I think I'm gonna do, like, I'm not gonna risk it. I'm gonna do for female voices, a female speaker person, for the male voices, a man, and then like, I don't know, depending on the chapter, they can switch off who is like whose perspective it is for that chapter. They can switch off who is narrating and whatnot. Because
this is why for this project I tapped Sam's talent because he's an insightful man.
Right.
I said, why is it that men can do women's voices easier? It's because men actually listen to women.
I think we all know that that's not entirely true.
Well,
I, for one, do not have that experience.
There is a difference between listening to a man and hearing the words of a man and trying to understand how they relate in regards to you as the protagonist in a movie of your own life.
Right.
Right. Because I have no doubt that the women that I know are listening to the words I say, but they're instantly being turned into dialogue within this movie where they are the heroic protagonist of a story, you know.
Is that what you think about women?
Excuse me?
Is that what you think about us?
Only by virtue of the women that I've met in my lifetime.
What gives you that impression, Polly?
Well, I narrowed it. It's not like I was speaking broadly. I didn't say all.
I am a woman in your life. I feel personally attacked right now, especially after the AAA stream with that one article.
Which one?
the spreadsheet one.
Oh, the San Francisco girl with her spreadsheet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know this or if you read this in chat, but I specifically mentioned that I have a cousin that has done that exact thing, and for the purposes of just having a data source to feed her her presentation graphics, because she's got like a PowerPoint of all of her conquests in her lifetime with like pros and cons, fun facts, other things. Right. And so I thought that was funny. Anyway, sorry, side tangent. We were talking about how I am the protagonist of everyone's story.
Well, just as Sam points out here, quote, "I feel personally attacked right now," end quote. See, they all think they're protagonists.
Well, Polly, we're having a conversation. You made a remark about how women listening to men actually just take that and make it dialogue in their own personal anecdotal life story. And you did specify hashtag not all, right? So you said, you went on to clarify women that you've met in your life. That encompasses me, and so by logical reasoning and deduction, I can assume that this is a personal tag, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. See?
Well, not really. When I met women in my life, I met women that I've met IRL. How about that?
Okay.
And
that hurts less.
Weebo was trying to suggesting that I should come to the Renaissance Fair, and it's like, we should meet IRL, and I'm like, because Quiz will be there, and Zelthor will be there, and
yes.
It'll be a big fun time.
Yes.
And it certainly did sound like one, but I'm a poor man, and also a busy one, and so that just wasn't in the cards, unfortunately.
Perhaps next
but
year.
You know that Weebo and I haven't met IRL, like, because we're still talking. I mean, I have plans, man. Like, it's gonna be like, because like, I'm aware, like, intellectually, I'm conscious of how tall Weebo is, but I haven't actually like stood beside her.
And on that
so
day,
I haven't emotionally accepted it, nor have I integrated it into like a realistic, composition of the woman. So like, I intend to like constantly like pat her on the head. How you doing, little fella? How's I did. Hey, little guy.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's probably gonna be the end of cocktail hour. Any friendship that we had. I'm just kidding.
Weebo's gonna punch straight forward and hit me in the nuts, after a while,
I
and
will
just not being able to take it anymore.
I will
It's
kick you in the shins.
like,
I will smack you on the arm.
but then you have to understand, I always see you as being like, I only know how tall you are by virtue of you having said it. So
Right.
it's the number that's floating in the air. It's not really a real thing.
Yeah, no, that was one of the first things. That was one of the first things that, like, I guess when Eve and I first met, that Eve kind of realized was just how short I am. And then she proceeded to use me as an armrest.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm taller than Eve is, so yeah, you can.
Oh no.
How tall is El Boyfriendo?
He's like 5'6", 5'7".
Okay.
Just perfect for like
So,
he's.
I was just gonna say proportionate then.
He's just perfect for like head under chin height for me,
right.
which is great.
Yeah.
Perfect standing cuddle height for me.
Yeah. No, I got you.
It works. Which was a nice change from the previous guy that I dated, who was like 6 foot something. It was like looking up at a freaking giant all the time. I had to like tippy toe just to actually give him a proper hug, you know?
Some chicks dig that.
Yeah, but I felt like I was reaching. That coupled with the fact that he thought he was
Literally.
smarter than me all the time, just, kind of made me feel small.
He was. What about envy? What'd you say?
So that coupled with the fact that he let me know with frequency that he was smarter than me.
Oh.
Kind of just made me feel smaller.
Okay.
Physically and, in the relationship, so.
Maybe that's why my ex-girlfriend disliked me calling her dummy so much.
Did you do it in like a joking way, or did you do it like in a literal, like, you're dumb?
Well, she tell me about like something like she described something that happened in her day, right?
Right.
And at various parts in the story, I would interject with, "Well, why'd you do that, dummy?" Like, because it was something not particularly wise that she engaged in.
Right. No,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I did find out though that this particular ex-girlfriend that I'm referring to, I called her dummy once, and she reacted poorly. And that was the last time I did it, because I was kidding. I absolutely said it as a joke, but apparently, jabs at her intelligence was not something she found to be funny. Now, I would say personally that would be the major difference between a man and a woman. See, a woman says reacts badly, and a man is going to be like, oh, there's got to be something from her past or something, an insecurity she's built up for herself. I'm not going to jab away at that. Whereas a woman thinks, oh my God, there's his soft spot, his Achilles heel. I'm going to file that away. Next time I'm angry, that shit's coming out, and I'm going to stab right there. Because women are mean, cold, vindictive, harpy bitches.
They can
when
be.
They want to be.
I would say that all humans are capable of being vindictive. Personally, I've met people of both genders, sexes, whatever you want to call them, with that capacity. And I find it annoying on all fronts. But you just gotta find someone that's not super vindictive, who's mature enough to like not live in the past or bring it up every single time she's dissatisfied or whatever. They exist, believe it or not, they do.
I've heard this.
Yes, they do.
Zelthor shared this cartoon on Discord the other day.
Yeah.
Fuck, it was funny. 2 lizards, like geckos or whatever, and like anthropomorphize, and they're talking to each other. And the woman is cut off the male gecko's tail.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, "You know what doesn't grow back, Susan? Trust."
Right, exactly. Yes. You need to, like, can't emphasize this enough. The moment that you pull out the guns, the I don't know, what do you call them? Like, the vindictive...
The moment you weaponize personal information that was shared in confidence with confidence,
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how I would put that. The moment you weaponize that is like the moment the relationship's doomed, because now they're aware that you are the kind of person that will do that, and you have established to yourself, but also to them, that you are that kind of person, and it's just a matter of time when it's like, gunzo.
Yeah.
Can't go
Well,
back.
okay, you know what? There, I would take Samile's call on that. It's just all humans are capable of it, which I would agree with. But
Mm-hmm.
like in most things, women abuse the privilege.
Okay, that I will agree with.
The women, it's like, so do all women do it? No, everybody's capable of doing it, and everyone does do it. I think it is a tendency for a higher frequency of women to do things that is okay for them to do, but not okay for you to do to them, and
Right.
they don't see the mismatch of information there.
Mm-hmm.
It's different when they do it.
Side note, I will say this, just like as a general rule, while you're going through life, but specifically for relationships, this is super helpful. Is when never say things to the person in anger. Step away, because you can't take that back. And as soon as you establish yourself as the kind of person to say something hurtful, anything hurtful, that you crack it a little bit. I mean, I know no one's perfect, but you gotta refrain from doing that, just in general. Like, vent to literally anyone else, but then come back to the table with a clear headspace. And that's been relationship advice with Weebo.
Well, okay, so Weebo, you were there for
Mm-hmm.
the story that we were talking about on AAA with the woman from the San Francisco Gate article
Yes.
who had gone out on these 21 first dates over a period of slightly less than a year, and categorized all the men to given criteria,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and applied scores to them.
Right.
And she said she had handed out this list to her group of fellow type A friends.
I did catch that.
Right.
I thought that was the
It's
funniest descriptor ever.
and you heard me like just flipping out on it.
Yeah.
Just, you are a bunch of sour bitches. Imagine by accident, like you get like through work or through friends, get invited on accident to hang out with people like this.
Yeah.
Just to hear them talk about this, like, you are some sour fucking bitches. Like in terms of like how demanding, like I said, the category that was missing there is mousiness of the man. Because like what? Like it's not even a question of like Chad or tough guy or whatever. Like what person in possession of basic dignity is going to put up with this incessant drumbeat of correction and criticism?
Well, okay, so my opinion on the matter with the spreadsheeting, right? Um, I on its own, isolated from like everything else, I don't see a problem with, and this might be my ignorance showing because I've not gone on a lot of dates with a lot of men to like enough, nearly enough to have any sort of experience that would fill out a spreadsheet. But from a data visualization perspective, if you're not having any luck in romance, quantifying data points in relationships that you think are factors that may or may not increase or decrease desirability for that partner seems like a good idea in an effort to, if you really wanted to figure out maybe what you weren't doing correctly, to get an idea and an understanding of that, because it's right there. You can look at it, you can assess it, you can play with the visualization of it, and it kind of it helps you put things in perspective. Where I think I have an issue with this is like making it public like divulging it to the masses. That seems like a violation of privacy almost to me. And then yes, like discussing and comparing notes with other women also seems a little bit privacy violating. But on its own categorization of humans, I mean, we've been doing it for forever. It doesn't strike me as all that offensive until you take that next step and you just blast it everywhere. And to put it to paper yes, it's an extra step, but I don't necessarily see a problem with it. Now, if you want to get super pedantic with it, maybe then you're going a little extreme with it. But like, I don't know, if you wanted to line up all your X's, see what kind of commonalities appear there, just to kind of get an idea of the kind of person that you're attracted to versus not, or what have you. That seems logical. I don't have a problem with that. And if I had trouble in the dating scene, I could probably see myself doing that very thing. Because I do that for my finances. I did that for the MCU video that we did. I do that for, like, I did that for finding a job, finding a house. Just, for me, it's helpful to be able to visualize everything in one aspect and just to have it there to look at.
This is... So, in chat, let me just jump back here. This is the problem with too many tabs. Fuck.
Why do you have 30 plus tabs in the first place?
That's a damn fine question. Well, because I'm going to get back to them. Okay, it's not there. It's not there. It's not there. There you are. Gotcha. You know, as you open more and more tabs, the descriptors get smaller and smaller, and so you can't. It's like there's only like one letter for each. So you kind of have to remember where it was physically, not so much what it says, because you can't read it anymore. So, yes, what is a Type A personality? It's a damn fine fucking question, considering how many people throw that phrase around. It is a thoroughly debunked distinction of personality types that fits everybody into two categories: Type A and Type B. I mean, now, you think about that for a second. With the breadth of complexity of human behavior that is notoriously resistant to categorization and indexing, these two cardiologists, that's right, heart doctors, put forward the hypothesis of Type A and Type B personality types. Okay, I'm just going to read from the Wikipedia page because that's sufficient. You can go read it in psychology journals that debunk it thoroughly through randomized selection tests, where it's like, let's just see if people fit in the way Myers-Briggs does it, where we're going to get a whole bunch of people to answer questions and then group like answers together, and on that basis, those are our categories, as opposed to, here's our categories, now here we're going to put these answers into this category and vice versa, right? A top-down versus, you know, bottom-up process. The Type A and Type B personality hypothesis describes two contrasting personality types. In this hypothesis, personalities that are more competitive, highly organized, ambitious, and patient, highly aware of time and time management, or aggressive are labeled as Type A, where the more relaxed, receptive, less neurotic, and frantic personalities are labeled as Type B. In popular culture, this is me talking, I'm not reading off the screen.
Right.
In popular culture, this has been interpreted as Type A are leaders, Type B are followers. That's about as complex as it gets when used colloquially. Somebody says, oh, I'm a Type A personality. How do you be an alpha male? They're reading into a Type A personality. You're a beta male, which means you're a cock and your wife has a fucking boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. Now, here's the thing. The two cardiologists, now I am reading again from Wikipedia, the two cardiologists who developed this theory came to believe that Type A personalities had a greater chance of developing coronary heart disease following the results of further studies and considerable controversy about the role of the tobacco industry funding of their early research in this area. Some reject, either partially or completely, the link between so-called Type A personality and coronary disease. Nevertheless, the research has had a significant effect on the development of health psychology as a field in which psychologists look at how individuals' mental states affect their physical health. Now, I want you to stop and think about that for a second. These are cardiologists that were interested in the development of coronary disease, and thought that people that were, you know, drive, impatient, focused on time, you know, these were the people that developed coronary disease, and they were being funded by the tobacco industry to disassociate tobacco consumption with the development of coronary disease.
So perhaps maybe we think they be biased a little bit.
Yeah. And now we got a bunch of polywords running around the fucking internet talking about how they're fucking, oh, I'm a type A personality. Translation: I like to think of myself as a leader because when I'm a disembodied voice on the internet, I can say things like that without anyone disagreeing with me.
Having said that, Polly,
Uh-huh.
when you were reading off the type A personality traits, I was like, oh, Polly's describing me, isn't he?
Yeah, but okay. Here's the thing. There's what we call comorbidity in psychology. Okay.
Wait a second.
You don't like where this is going?
Are you about to diagnose me with something?
Well, see, we have personality types and disorders, or indicators of disorders. They're not necessarily diagnosable.
I've never been diagnosed with anything in my life. Thank you very much.
But somebody can show a number of traits of a given personality or mood disorder and not necessarily have given mood disorder. If you only manifest 5 of the given 8 things, it could be a, hypothalamic version of the thing. It could be physically being caused. It's not a psychological disorder, for example. Okay, so like on over on the second axis of personality disorders, there's a little one called narcissistic personality disorder. Now,
hey, my mom.
Hear me out.
Okay.
There's a number of traits that go along with that. Thinking highly of oneself, not willing to receive criticism, thinking of all information incoming being adjusted as to how it regards to the individual personally. Are you feeling like I'm describing you again?
No.
Possibly. No.
No, I was just talking about like the
ones that aren't complimentary. That's interesting.
No, I'm looking at let's see. What is it? The Wikipedia article?
Yeah, the descriptors were Weebo sees herself apparently as competitive, highly organized, ambitious, impatient, highly aware of time and time management, aggressive.
Yeah, I am a little bit too aggressive. A workaholic. I hate delays and ambivalence. I'm just reading this. Set high expectations for themselves and don't always measure up, believe it or not.
Status conscious, anxious, proactive.
I'm a little anxious.
But
a lot of anxious, actually. I twitch on occasion. Like, I have a twitchy finger that gets hyperactive when I'm super stressed out, which is way too often. Does Weebo have small dog syndrome? No, just because I twitch doesn't mean that I am a small dog. No, but I do suffer from a little bit of hubris, I will say.
When you go through these descriptors, right, this is a great example of how falsification in a scientific experiment is important, because so the type A, type B personality test organized by cardiologists, so they're not psychologists. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean you can't organize, just because you're not a psychologist without a license or a degree or whatever, organize a proper empirical experiment that's falsifiable. No, you absolutely can. Just crack a book and figure out how to do it. Or go to the Wikipedia page on falsifiable experimentation and see what the fuck that means and how to organize an experimental design accordingly. And you can totally do it. You don't need to go to get a fucking degree to do it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's not the cardiologist couldn't. It's just they didn't give a fuck. Because, I mean, think about this for a second. What were they trying to do? They're trying to verify something. So in other words, prove a hypothesis, not disprove the null hypothesis, which is what you do in falsification. So you have the possibility of being wrong in the course of your experiment, is the simplest way to put it. They didn't have the possibility of being wrong in the course of their experiment because they had preordained the conclusion. They'd set up the experiment as such as that it would be verified. You could also verify astrology, but you can't falsify it. What's the difference? Well, that's why Karl Popper, postulated that the line of demarcation, as it gets called, like what's the dividing line between science and pseudoscience? Which looks very much like science and has all the trappings of science, and the people engaged in it wear lab coats and have clipboards and shit. Like what?
That's what makes a scientist.
Well, yeah, but it has all the trappings and looks and the lexicon. It uses lingo of jargon of science, but it's actually junk. It's actually bunk science. How do you know the difference? And that's what they call the demarcation problem. How do you separate the two? Plapper offered the difference was verification versus falsification. And it's not a perfect solution, but it's a damn good one. People still love arguing over whether it solves a demarcation problem. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's just damn good at separating out most pseudoscience. In any case, what were they trying to do? These cardiologists in this experiment demonstrate that certain people are prone to coronary disease, right? I mean, think about the descriptions that they gave of people. Workaholics, they hate delays and ambivalence. They experience job-related stress, less job-related satisfaction. They have high expectations of themselves. They're driven. They have an urgency for control. In other words, somebody who's going to have a heart attack in the next 5 minutes. They had set the personality types up to find the result they were looking for.
Right. You can't not fit into one of these categories at any given point in your life.
And did not consider in the course of their experimental design what are called intervening variables. Mm-hmm. What happens if we removed all the big fat fucks who don't exercise, don't eat like shit, and don't smoke? All of a sudden, all the people with so-called type A personality syndrome aren't subject to coronary disease. Oh, maybe being a big fat fuck, eating like shit and smoking 2 packs a day is what's causing the coronary disease. And those are your intervening variables. And you've muddled it all together to produce the result that your funders wanted to see.
You know, this sounds like a very roundabout way of self-reporting that you're a type B personality. It also feels like, I don't know, some ex-girlfriend came up to you at some point in the relationship and called you a type B personality, and you're like, I'll show you type B, bitch. Is that what happened, Polly?
I can tell you this much. I'm asked if a type A personality would have textured sheets. No, not necessarily. However, a type A personality, by description, would see it as a, what's the phrase? What's
a status symbol.
Would see it as, would read a great problem into me not wanting to use a sheet. Okay, so Weebo, you got like the mattress covered sheet,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait. The mattress cover, and then the fitted sheet, or the mattress cover?
Okay, no. I was describing the fitted sheet because
okay.
you can have the pillowed mattress cover. I have one. They're great.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
They prevent you from wetting the bed if you're super drunk. That's what they're for. The mattress cover is to protect the mattress.
You're talking about like plastic ones. I'm talking about like the padded filled ones to make your bed more comfortable. What the fuck were you talking about?
Well, talking about the plastic ones that like
on
your bed.
And I was about to say they have those. Yeah, they got those. You should look into a quilted bed cover. You should look into them. They're like extra paddy. They make your bed super fucking comfortable. They're available at Walmart, for God's sake. I thought you were one of these people that were very interested in a comfy night's sleep.
I am.
I thought you'd know.
Why I'm so salty that I can't return that fucking mattress. It's too fucking firm. I want a sleep number. Anyway, sorry, continue. You're talking about how you make your bed in the morning?
No, I don't ever make my bed. It's a Sisyphusian effort. That's right, Samael. That's what I said.
Listen here.
Because you're just merely going to want to make it, less than 24 hours later. What's the point?
To reset the bed and to start your day off with having completed one task, so at least you can say that you completed one thing that day. Like you have one accomplishment, at least one, under your belt. There you go.
No, I've heard that theory, and I think there may be, I don't know. And it's always from military types. I mean, Reaper was the one who said that to me as well, and I've heard it from other, I don't know. Maybe there's some legitimacy to that. I should give it a shot.
Most of my life, if I woke up and I left the house without having first made my bed, to the satisfaction of my father, it would have been a problem. Let Just say that.
Well, okay,
I would
well,
have
you
heard
just
about
let the
it.
cat out the bag. This making beds is a daddy issue thing. I don't have them.
I don't have daddy issues. I have mommy issues. It's
Well, yeah,
different.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah. It's,
Oh, I have issues, but they're not daddy issues. Anyway, so you don't make your bed in the morning.
no. Okay, so we're trying to get on a level of descriptors of bed sheeting in general.
Right.
Okay, so you have the fitted sheet. There's the right description. That's what I was going for. You have the fitted sheet, and then you have and then you get into bed, and then what goes on top of you now is for a lot of people a what
Another
they just
sheet.
refer to as a sheet, right?
Yes.
It's generally thin and generally made of
Mhm.
the same fabric that the fitted sheet is, but not always.
Typically, they come in sets, and it's
Yeah,
also the same
right.
fabric as like your pillowcases. Typically.
Often it is. Yeah, absolutely. So we're on the same level here, okay?
Yes.
And then on top of now there might be a thin, like an Afghan or whatever in between that, possibly, but more often than not, unless it's cold or whatever the fuck, the comforter just goes on top of that sheet.
Yes.
Okay,
Typically.
so we're all, or your duvet, some people call it. I understand.
You don't pronounce the T. Is duvet.
I'm very well aware. I'm just fucking with the
Oh.
with the Europeans in the chat.
Oh.
Not calling any names out. I just
Sam.
fine. Le duvet.
There you go.
Well, for all I know, it's la duvet. I don't know.
You should have said.
Is a duvet male or female? How the fuck are you supposed to know? That's something I've never been able to figure out with gendered languages.
If you really wanted to butcher it, you'd call it a duvet.
A
Duvet.
A duvet, yeah. A downfilled duvet.
Anyway, so your point in telling
Okay,
us how to make our
my
beds.
point is this. Okay,
Our beds
now
that you
this-
don't make.
Now this is the thing. I tend to get I like it cool in the room where I'm sleeping.
Yes.
I don't like getting overheated.
Mhm.
I like the comfort of a comforter because they're comfortable, hence all of the similarity in names.
Mhm.
Okay, but I end up having like my legs sticking out from one to regulate heat, you know what I
Right,
mean? And
yes.
my feet's off and be sticking out and
The
whatnot.
monster
And
under
that's
your bed is gonna get you. All that.
yeah. So like, but I don't use the sheet. Why? Like the sheet that goes in between the duvet and yourself. Just the comforter. Now the comforters that I have the zip covers on them, so they're perfectly washable in an easy to do way. You understand what I'm talking about? But I don't use the sheet. Now why is that? Because I tend to turn and twist a lot. I don't get a lot of rest when I sleep. It's part of my insomnia thing. And I wake up with them like I'm like wrapped up like a fucking mummy in the sheet because it's thin, and I turn over a whole bunch of times and I end up twisted and straitjacketed in the fucking thing.
Okay, I can see that. That's not as bad as what El Boyfriendo does. He refuses to sleep under the quilt and the sheet, and he just sleeps on top of them with another blanket that he has had for 20 years, which kind of just like squeezes me like toothpaste out of the bed on occasion, or off the side of the bed.
Right. Okay. Well, so here's the story though. So
Yes.
the girl that I was dating at the time, who was a psychologist.
Yes.
Be cautious when doing that, y'all. Dating psychologists. Okay.
Wait. Like fully fledged psychologist, or like
Yeah, a
like...
licensed psychologist. Yeah, she has her doctorate and her license. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And now, and that can either be neither here nor there, or it can turn your life into a twisted nightmare. It all depends on the disposition of the person who's in possession of said license and doctorate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, she interpreted me not wanting to sleep under the sheet, but on top of the sheet, or shove the sheet to the side and just sleep under the comforter, where she was sleeping under the sheet and the comforter. So there was this separation between us that she interpreted as a unconscious sign that I didn't want to be sleeping in the same bed with her, was not comfortable in the relationship, and was continually trying to distance myself from her in one of the most intimate places where one would normally show intimacy, which would be when you're in bed together. She goes, in this very place, this is where you choose to show distance and separation and create boundaries. And I think that that's very telling for our future.
Whew. Oh boy, she just psychoanalyzed the fuck out of Nothing Burger, didn't she?
What? No, that's called the cotton condom. You're exercising self-control via an external mechanism.
That's what married couples do so that they stop having children.
I gotta go. I can't listen to this.
Okay, all right. I will say
I disagreed with her interpretation, by the way.
I can see how she would come to that conclusion. To steal men the position. Were you living together?
Nope. This is when
Okay.
I would stay over.
Okay, so when you would stay over, you wouldn't tough it out for like a night just to like do the vertical cuddle?
No, okay, see, here was the thing. I said, why don't we meet halfway? And she said, get under the cover. I said, no, that's your way. Meaning halfway would be literally halfway between the sheets, where why aren't we just both under the comforter together, and then we can snuggle, cuddle, whatever. I said, and she goes, well, because that's not meeting halfway. That's not compromising. I'm like, okay, see, this is such a female view of compromise that is translated into everything the way I want it precisely. Because I said we should. I'm not saying we shouldn't be under blankets, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be in the bed together, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be snuggling and cuddling and whatnot.
Right.
Because okay, I'm down with all those things.
Okay.
There's just one thing: the sheet, the thin sheet, gets all like wrapped up, you know.
I do not have a 100-mile stare, okay? No, okay, but okay, all right. Here's how you solve the problem. Not that it matters anymore, because you said this is
Past, yeah.
past girlfriend. Here's how you solve this issue, chat. Should it ever arise for you at any point, you get a twin sheet instead of like a full bed size sheet, or just cut the sheet in half down the middle, and only put one sheet on one half of the bed, and let the other half of the bed be sheetless. And there you go. Solved the problem. Got him. Men would sleep on fucking rocks if they knew they could get laid on them.
I wouldn't sleep on rocks.
You wouldn't sleep on a rock?
No.
Not for a good
But then
thing?
again, Ocean Redux also asked, why am I even here? I'm assuming I'm he. Because I'm charming and full of delightful stories. And by delightful, I mean...
That was delightful, actually. Now I know.
At the time, it wasn't funny, but, you know, there's lots of shit that I have that's like that. That it wasn't funny at the time, but looking back on it, what in the fuck?
That was such like, that's such a silly thing to fight about.
Oh, there was no fight. There was just
Disagree?
one direction judgment, and me going, what? No.
But, like, was it a constant thing that she brought up, or was it just the one time and then it was like, drop it?
Oh, well, she had a whole number. She did it, and I was not being singled out. She applied her analysis to everything and everyone going on around her. It was, including herself, but always in a very understanding, complimentary way that she was never willing to afford to others.
Okay. So she didn't just psychoanalyze you. Well, yeah, that's part and parcel with, like, psychologists, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you could call that psychoanalyzing. It's bastardizing jargon to be critical of someone. It's nothing more than that.
Yeah. You know what that really is?
The whole concept falls the fuck apart where it's like, well, you're trying to create distance and boundaries between us. Okay, but I'm willing to snuggle with you in this exact place that you're describing. So what's the difference? The fucking sheet. So, I mean, there's your intervening variable right there.
Right.
That's the only difference.
She could just as easily sleep on top of the sheet to be close to you. But she doesn't want to do that. She won't make that compromise. She only wants it her way, therefore...
I got a question for you.
To compromise, you are the one making the boundary. Yes, what?
I have a question for you. So, you have more or less same schedule with your boyfriend.
It basically, yeah. We go
Okay.
to work together. We get off work together. We come home. We sleep. Yeah.
What would happen if those were wildly out of whack? Like someone was going to bed, 4 to 5 hours after the other person. Would that cause a major disruption, or do y'all jive because you have the same schedule? Not only because, but it's one of the things.
So, we have been together for 8 years. 4 of those were spent with me away at college while he was working graveyard shift.
Oh, I know. I've brought it up as an example to 2 different women.
Yeah. So, it's
So I know someone that went off to college and blah blah blah, so that this long distance thing doesn't work. Well, you're just fucking wrong, lady. But
well,
anyway, moving on.
it works because we made it work.
And that's what I said. I said when I was talking to her, she told me both parties have to be working at it. Well, I guess we know which piston isn't firing, bitch. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
I don't know how I feel about having been used in this as an example in such a way. Could you have used your nice person words, Polly?
Well, I didn't say it in that way.
Okay.
I thought it.
Well, anyway, so just because we are out of whack doesn't mean that we wouldn't be jiving, because we get along regardless of what schedule we're on, as we've proven to each other. Actually, we have had this discussion that we will eventually need to return to a staggered schedule where, like, he goes to work super early in the morning and I go to work a little bit later in the morning, and then he would come home earlier in the afternoon, and then I would come home later, like at night, closer to, because when we eventually have kids, we will both probably have to be working and putting the kids in daycare, depending on how much we make jointly in order to support ourselves. So eventually, yeah, for a time, we will have to stagger our schedules, most likely, unless I become a stay-at-home mom for 5 years or whatever. And so we will have to function in that capacity and prepare ourselves to function in that capacity. So eventually, yeah, we're going to have to stagger that. It will have to change. We'll make it work because we intend to, and we're stubborn as fuckers about it. And we've done it before. So it's not unorthodox to switch it up. And that's kind of like part and parcel for a relationship, long-term relationship that is successful, is that you have to be flexible about that. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. So yeah, it will return back to that. Can't wait. But right now, yeah, we have pretty exact schedules. I'm sorry, what was the original question? I lost my train of thought. You interrupted me.
A couple of minutes ago.
Yeah. And then I just rambled and you let me. Shame on you. Okay, what was the original question again? Now that I've established all of that.
Well, you kind of answered it. It was just because you said there was a time when you weren't on the same schedule, and you made it work, and then you knew that there was a time when you would be again, etc. So like my question was like, Ken, would you two be able to make it work, or would it be a major fucking stumbling block if you were off in schedules? Because I've known women that I've been with where it has been a whopping, like, boulder-sized stumbling block that we didn't have the same schedule.
Yeah, that's weird to me. Because we're both pretty independent people. That's another thing that I think that women specifically need to work on, but some men too, is learn how to be your own fucking person within the relationship. Like, yes, you are a unit, you function together, you're a team. But also, you're an individual. Learn to be by yourself and enjoy your own company is a piece of advice that I think everyone should work towards successfully owning. Just because you are going to be at times with your own company, not in the company of the person that is your other half. And so you need to be able to live with yourself. If you can't do that, if you're constantly dependent upon another person to be a person, it's not gonna work. That's going to cause friction because the other person, more than likely, is perfectly secure in being with themselves, or will eventually need to do something separate from you. And if you can't deal, it causes tension.
I don't disagree with that, and I certainly don't want to be the person making the comment where, well, it's a matter of balance or striking finding the happy medium, because it's just such a non-statement.
Right? What is the
Often,
happy medium?
right. Often when people say it, they're saying it just to fill space. But it can go, and in this case, it fits because you can go really far in the other direction because there's needy women. Where if your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever is one of your hobbies, that's a problem. Like, that you can't fill your time by yourself, as you were saying. That's, be happy with your own company, being able to fill your time when you're alone. Not just until staving off when the other person shows up, but because you like doing these things. So you don't have any outside interests, whatever the fuck. Okay. But then there's the other side of it, where there's women who
solve a problem like Maria.
double shots.
I'll read that in a minute. Finish your thought, and then I'll read it.
Then there's women that will say things out loud, unironically, like, either a relationship is like this, or I will die alone with my dogs. Fuck it, that's the way it's going to be. And it's like, yeah, and you will, and you fucking well will, or you're going to end up in a fucking relationship / marriage of convenience, whereby it's one in fucking name only, and you got old and dried up before you had a chance to go find other options.
Right. Yeah. There is
because of your insistence on things.
The Evil Dead shotgun funny sound. Yeah. Thank you, Ocean Redux, for the donation. Weebo. Okay, so I don't have any kids at the moment, but I know damn well that relationships don't truly work off of trust. They work off of money, and if you get a kid, you need a nanny, unless you're traditional, which you're not. Work off of trust. They work off of money. Yeah, so that's why we put the kid in daycare for a couple of hours, and then. Oh, you mean. Like, have a nanny so that the nanny raises the kid while we're both at work. Well, there are multiple ways to raise children and have a successful relationship. I'm not saying that mine is the correct one, but it's probably going to be the one that works for us. I mean, we'll adjust accordingly. If it doesn't work the way that we originally planned it, then we will make adjustments where needed. That's, like, you don't have to just marry yourself to one plan and stick to it with a stiff upper lip. You can be flexible. That's another thing that I don't think people understand about relationships, is that they can be flexible. Like, dynamics change over time, and no one realizes that. Like, you as a person and your other person will change as you get older. Because I'm not the same person I was 8 years ago. Fuck that bitch. Alright? And neither's that boyfriendo. We grew together. And we adjusted together. Some of us faster, some of us slower than the other. But in the end, we achieved a nice equilibrium with each other. Anyway. Yeah, no, I think, talking about relationships is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Relationships?
It can be. Depends whether or not it just ends up. No, it can be.
Mm-hmm. And analyzing them is fun too. Psychoanalyzing them, though, that's a little bit extra. Ain't about that. Relationships have to change over time because people do. If the dynamics stagnate while the people evolve, the relationship necessarily dies. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway.
I brought up something that this reminded me of earlier, and then I didn't finish up that. So, big fan of Bryson Ellis. His books are notoriously difficult to adapt.
Oh, that's right, you did.
one adaptation that I had been avoiding, though I had heard about it more than any of them, was Lesson Zero, which is one of those 80s coming of age films that everyone who's in that age bracket talks about. Like Ranting Monkey does, like, Breakfast Club, I've never seen it. 16
Really?
Candles, haven't seen it. St. Elmo's Fire, haven't seen it. Pretty in Pink, haven't seen it. The list goes on. And
Never seen
in
any of
that,
those?
no. Have you?
I've seen Breakfast Club. I've seen, I believe, 16 Candles, but I don't think I remember it. I've seen a lot of classics, which I'm surprised you haven't.
Yeah, none of them, none of those. And Lesson Zero gets numbered amongst them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and because it's based on a Bret Easton Ellis novel, which was his first novel and like explosively successful for him, I wanted to see it because of the way that it had been described, which is, and by Ellis himself as well as others, as, okay, the characters have the same names, and it does indeed take place on planet Earth. Other than that, it's got nothing to do with the novel.
I've seen that adaptation. Not that one, but just that level of adaptation before. The 100.
Oh, the 100 was that far off? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Completely. Like, the core concepts of yeeting 95 juvenile delinquents back to nuclear fallout, post-nuclear apocalypse Earth.
Yep.
To conserve oxygen on your spaceship. That existed, but everything beyond that was just completely divorced from what the actual books were about, basically.
Like leaving American Psycho out of it.
Right.
One of Ellis's novels and then one of his movies. Like leaving that adaptation out of it. Every single one has been an abject, like beyond failure. I've seen them all, with the exception of Lesson Zero. And apparently Lesson Zero was the worst one. And because, I don't know, it was numbered in with these coming of age movies. I don't know, maybe that was part of why I did. But I did. I watched it 2 days ago. Holy shit. It is easily the worst adaptation of them all. Okay, one, it's a bad movie to begin with.
Right.
The only thing that's good about it is seeing baby Robert Downey Jr. Holy fuck, he looks like he's 14. He's not. He's like in his early 20s or whatever the fuck. But it's just so funny to see Robert Downey Jr. as such a young man. It's crazy. The movie itself is terrible. Like if you didn't know the novel, but when you watch the novel, it is grating because that's not who Clay is. That's not who Julian is. That's not who Blair is. That's not who Rip is. Like the characters are completely unrelated to who they are. And it's supposed to be like the basic premise, which is a very simple one, is that Clay is from Los Angeles, from a wealthy family, and all of his friends are from wealthy families. He goes to a small liberal arts college out in New Hampshire, and then comes home for Christmas for 4 weeks. And the book is just what happens during the 4 weeks that he's home, and then he goes back to college at the end. That's it. Very simple premise. And everything that makes that premise, the book is about alienation, isolation, disaffectedness, disassociation. It's about floating through life, where everything is normalized to the point of boredom, disaffectedness. Nothing affects anyone. Everybody is sexually available. Clay is bisexual and promiscuous, but everybody is. Everybody does drugs. Everybody drinks. Everybody smokes. Nobody raises an eyebrow, and that's the whole point. And then the author's reportage, he simply reports everything. He never takes it's a first-person narrative, but it's just him telling you what's going on. He never takes issue with anything. He never takes sides. Just describes. Doesn't care, one way or the other. And it was supposed to be and what made that book so popular and why it sold millions upon millions of copies is it's like, this is the 80s book. It encapsulates 80s alienation and the zeitgeist of the time, as literary people get into describing it. It's like, I don't know if it does all of that, but whatever the hell that shit's supposed to mean. But it is a very interesting read in that sense. And the movie is completely separate from it. God, it was awful, Weebo. Like, it was painful to get through.
Well, okay, so was it bad because it didn't line up with anything from the book, or was it just, like... Or, like, is that your chief concern, I guess, is my question.
My chief concern is that the vibe was gone.
Okay.
Like, if you had renamed everybody and had all of his friends coming to college instead of him going home, like completely arranged the basic premise, but the vibe of alienation and isolation and disaffectedness was still there, then yeah, it would have worked.
Okay.
You know, but it's the whole point is gone. I mean, all of a sudden, Clay, who was very much a user of drugs, becomes a guy that, in Ellis's own words, goes around spouting Alcoholics Anonymous catchphrases at everybody. You shouldn't be doing drugs. That's bad for you. Blah, blah, blah. And Julian becomes this heavy user of drugs that is, everybody is absolutely aware that he's a far gone addict and is going to end up in a very, very bad place throughout the movie. Throughout the book, that's not what's going on at all. Julian is a distant character who was very, very close friends with Clay. And when Clay does see him, Julian seems more detached than any of them. Like, he's just uninvolved, doesn't give a fuck, doesn't care. It's like, well, are you going to try even? Are you going to reapply to college? He's like, I don't know. Doesn't matter, man. Like, he's so disillusioned that it even surprises Clay. Or Clay's like, oh, come on, you got to have something you want to do. And he said he just stared at the wall. Where in the movie, he's just like, you know, he's doing crack, 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 like Robert Downey Jr. constantly smoking from crack pipes and shit. Right. And it's like, what? It doesn't even make sense. And they turned it into a love triangle thing between Clay, Blair, and Julian. And it was like, no, that never happens. And even if it did, Clay wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this movie. Oh, that's Robert Downey Jr. Here.
It's funny, Sam says, Robert Downey Jr. aged like an Asian woman, 19 for 30 years, then suddenly middle-aged. Yeah, so did, what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio. He was 14 years old forever, and then all of a sudden I saw him in a movie. I was like, Jesus Christ, when did you turn 30? Like,
when did you become an adult?
Yeah.
So don't watch this movie then? Is that what I'm hearing?
You know what? Seen independently, and I can't do that, right? Because I know the book
right
quite well. Maybe it would fit in with St. Elmo's Fire, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club. Like, it would, because it's grouped with all of them constantly. Maybe it would fit right the fuck in with all of them. I mean, and I can say this: it is very well shot. Like, it's not like it's an ugly film to look at. It's 80s as fuck. Came out in 1987. So it's neon and thin ties and like the 80s tropes just fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
The music, the very extremely 1987. So it all fits. Like, it comes across like a time capsule of a movie. And I don't know, on that basis, maybe people really, really dig it. You know what? And since seeing it, Quiz told me he loves that movie, though he's never read the book. I have got to talk to that man. What the fuck did you love? I'm baffled.
Well, now I kind of want to watch it just to, you know, like, watch it and then read the book and compare the two. Because I am very much of the opinion that just because an adaptation isn't a one-to-one, like a direct one-to-one of the source material, doesn't make it bad content. As someone who enjoys fan fiction, I have that ability to separate those two things and individualize them, categorize them as separate entities, and I do it very well. Because I've been doing it for so freaking long. Because how else am I supposed to get my freaking Teen Titans fix if they won't give me the freaking show that I so desperately want? Anyway, sorry, I'm not better about it at all. But yeah, if you looked at it as if it were fan fiction rather than an adaptation, does that make it a better movie for you?
I think what makes it a better movie, what makes it a better movie for me is just seeing it as a completely separate enterprise that was only inspired by the novel. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. And maybe that's what you have to do. Yeah,
they're just not connected at all, which is why I say, if you're into it as it being grouped with this coming of age 80s stories, because it becomes a coming of age story for Clay, which it's most certainly not. Like the novel, he doesn't come of nothing, which sounded weird, but it just, his character arc is non-existent. There are no arcs. There's downfalls.
No arcs.
I guess that's an arc, downwards. But that's it. Like, I mean, it doesn't
More
really
slow.
matter. Nothing really changes for Clay from the time he arrives to the time he leaves. But that's the point. Nothing changes for these people. They've been acting this way because their parents are. There's another thing. Their parents are really involved in their life in the book, or excuse me, in the novel.
Mm-hmm.
Their parents are present in the movie.
Okay.
Julian's father really disapproves of his drug use. It kicks him out of the house, blah, blah, blah. Clay's parents have this and that to say, et cetera, et cetera. In the book, the parents are absolutely uninvolved in their children's lives. Don't know. Not only do they not care what they're doing, and it's not out of anger, it's out of indifference. They just don't care. It's just not on their mind. They're uninvolved and unknowledgeable. They don't even know what their kids are doing. They don't care. And so therefore their kids are free to do whatever the fuck. And they do whatever the fuck.
Sam put it nicely. No character arcs, but plenty of character troughs. I'd just call it a slope. Because a trough eventually curves upward, but if they're just constantly going down, then it's basically just...
Oh, okay. Ellis, so blown away by what they did to his novel. He wasn't angry because all of his shit's been adapted. And he says, once it's made into a movie, I don't, unless I've written scripts, which he has, I don't ever think of my stuff as being adapted. So when you adapt it, you change it. So if it comes out in a way that I don't really like, it's not a reflection on the book. It doesn't mean that the movie sucks. It's a completely separate thing where people have just taken core characters and ideas and themes and run with it. And it's like, that's pretty, I don't know, whatever you call it, laid back attitude about it, I guess. You know, he says, I've been uninvolved in every production of any movie that's been adapted of any book that I've ever done. I see it when everyone else sees it. I see it at the screening. I'm not there. I'm not approving the script or anything like that. Never have been. And not by choice. That's just the way that it's turned out. They bought the rights to his book, and that's the end of it.
Right.
That's the end of his involvement. He says, people have been asking him a bunch of times, where do these people end up? Clay and Blair and Julian and Rip. Like, what the fuck happens to them? The whole Alana, the whole cast of characters that are in Less Than Zero. Mm-hmm. Because they're like this at 19 and 20. What the hell happens when they're 40? Are they all in gutters? Like, with the amount of drugs that they do with the, where do they end up? And Ellis, in a number of interviews, he goes, I get asked that question a lot, as much as I get asked, where would Patrick Bateman, the main character of American Psycho, if he were alive today, where would he be? What would he be involved in? Because he's such a guy of the 80s Wall Street yuppiedom. Where would he be today? Would he be caught? Would he be in jail for murder? Or would he still be carrying on, et cetera, et cetera? Because those are the two questions I get asked the most. Where would they be today? Eventually, I decided that it seemed obvious to him what would happen to the cast of characters in Less Than Zero. Because those were people that I knew that came from wealthy families that acted in this way. I came from I wouldn't say wealthy, but very much upper middle class in Los Angeles family. My parents were separated. I hated my father, barely ever saw him. He would just come by to write checks for us, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Very much like a lot of the characters in the book.
Right.
Et cetera. Because I knew where they all ended up, but none of these people, and no one asking me seemed to know. They all end up doing, they all end up working in different fields, usually in the movie and writing industry. They all end up as associate producers or which isn't a particularly talented job, or you don't have to have a particular amount of talent to do. You kind of have to be there and have opinions and whatnot. Right. So eventually he writes a book called Imperial Bedrooms, which is the sequel to Less Than Zero. And in Ellis's, of course, I'm a fan, so I'm biased, but in his brilliant fashion, he takes the entire notion of the book and turns it on his head and makes himself, Bret Easton Ellis, one of the characters in Less Than Zero, who's never mentioned. He's just somebody who was in the background. and he wrote somebody else's story, Clay's. Now the sequel is actually Clay writing the story and saying how badly he was portrayed in the first book.
Huh.
Which is fascinating. Like, I mean, here's the first part of it, okay? Like, this is what a brilliant way to twist around your own book 20 years later when writing it. Where do these people end up? Well, I just don't want to write that same story. And I have to explain the movie too. Because he does have to explain the movie. How's it so different from the book? Right?
Right.
He's like, and that's how the book starts. Imperial Bedrooms. They had made a movie about us. The movie was based on a book written by someone we knew. The book was a simple little thing about 4 weeks in the city we grew up in, and for the most part, it was an accurate portrayal. It was labeled fiction, but only a few details had been altered, and our names weren't changed, and there was nothing about it that hadn't actually happened. For example, there actually had been a screening of a snuff film in that bedroom in Malibu on a January afternoon, and yes, I had walked out of it onto the deck overlooking the Pacific, where the author of the book tried to console me, assuring me that the screams of the children being tortured were faked. But he was smiling when he said this, and I had to turn away. Other examples. My girlfriend had in fact run over a coyote in the canyon below Mulholland, and a Christmas Eve dinner at Chasen's restaurant with my family that I had casually complained about to the author was faithfully rendered. And a 12-year-old girl really had been gang raped, and I was in that room in West Hollywood with the writer, who, in the book, just noted a vague reluctance on my part. I have failed to accurately describe how I actually felt that night. The desire, the shock, how afraid I was of the writer, a blonde and isolated boy whom the girl I was dating, Blair, had halfway fallen in love with. But the writer was never fully able to return her love, because he was too lost in his own passivity to make the connection she needed from him. And so she had turned to me, but by then, it was too late. And because of the writer and his resentment that she had turned to me, I became the handsome, dazed narrator, incapable of love or kindness. That's how I became the damaged party boy who wandered through the wreckage, blood streaming from my nose because of too much cocaine, asking questions that never seemed to have answers from those around me. That's how I became the boy who never understood how anything worked. That's how I became the boy who was dazed by the everyday happenings around me. That's how I became the boy who wouldn't save his friend. And that's how I became the boy who couldn't love a girl. What a hell of a twist. And it's like, so what's the real Clay like? Well, when you read Imperial Bedrooms, you find out. As he runs into Blair, who's now married to Trent, another character from the book, and Julian, who, yeah, the stories are faithfully rendered, but the author has now gone off to do other things and doesn't relate to them at all.
Interesting concept. Long form character meta conflict. Says Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long form character meta conflict. Yeah.
Well, now I feel compelled to read the book, watch the movie, and then read the other book. Not in that particular order. I think you should always watch the adaptation before you read the actual source material, personally. Just because, assuming they're both good works, but they don't follow, or one doesn't follow the other faithfully, you don't get disappointed at all. And if one of them is kind of like mediocre compared to the source material, then you're kind of building up expectations instead of like your expectations are set up here because the source material is that good, and then immediately drop down because the adaptation is just ass. I don't like to be disappointed. I like to set myself up to not be disappointed, and so I think I'll watch the movie first, then read the book.
In this case, yeah. But in the case of the book that you misread so badly, Rules of Attraction, I'm still pissed off about that. We were supposed to book club at Weebo.
I've never been part of a book club before. I don't know the rules.
I don't know. I've complained to Sam about that. I was like, she did me wrong, man. It's like, because I was like, I wanted to like read it a lot. It's like, and the first thing that I know is Weebo saying, Yeah, I got the book and I'm like 4 chapters in. I don't like this at all. And I was like, whoa, wait, what? I just, I.
I don't know the rules.
Well, I thought the idea was like we were going to read, well, what I had envisioned, and I had never said, so fair enough. It's not your fault. You didn't know what I had thought would
Right.
be
I
a
can't
fun
read
approach.
your
Was
mind. I'm not
What, yeah.
a woman that can read minds.
Or at least believe they have the ability to. It was to read whatever number of chapters
Mhm.
and then discuss, you know, and it would have, I think, changed your thoughts on it, or at least ameliorated them, because god damn were you critical of that book. It was like, I don't like any of these people, and I was like, yeah, but Weebo, I don't like them either. It's still my favorite Ellis novel of all of the books he's written. And I wouldn't want to be friends with any one of them. They're terrible fucking people.
Yeah.
But faithfully rendered and richly developed.
And that I can appreciate. But you just hate them so much.
Is it because they're all whores? Is that why? Is it the promiscuity that gets to you?
No, you know what it is? Well, kind of, I guess. That's a symptom of it, but it's not like the diagnosis. I think the actual issue is when I absorb content, typically, well, not even typically, this isn't universal, I want to like the characters that I'm reading about.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big romantic softie when it comes to a lot of literature, specifically fiction literature. So I read with the intent of like, all right, so who do I see this person getting with for whatever reason? And that's typically what I like to read about. Just because I like the to get inside the heads of the interpersonal relationship going on there.
Yeah.
Because I do like to assess it, analyze it, think about it, you know, envision it. I'm a big, I like romance. Sue me. I'm a female. That's what I do. And I just couldn't.
I like romance too. That's why I was so amazed at, I mean, that's what started the movie trading, because I couldn't believe you didn't appreciate the romantic storyline in Casablanca, the greatest piece of film ever committed to celluloid.
Yeah. Okay.
Commenting that it was, and I am speaking verbatim here, boring.
You remember that specific verbatim quote of mine? Of all the things.
You were speaking about my favorite movie of all time, which is also, by the way, the greatest movie ever made. So, I mean, yeah, I'm going to remember your commentary about it. Boring.
Okay, fine. But, like, anyway.
Because remember, I asked you, okay, fine. You didn't appreciate the romance in it. So I want to see what high-flown cinematic romance looks like to you. And that was, hold on. Don't tell me.
I love it when he mistitles these things that I sent him. Yes, what is it? What's the name of my favorite romance movie?
It's Stuffy Pantaloons and Social Barriers. What's it called?
Pride and Prejudice, dummy.
Pride and Prejudice, right? Yeah, Stuffy Pantaloons and Social Barriers. There, yeah, what? It's close. It's...
Well, no, but like, okay, so like,
that was, I enjoyed it for what it was. Like, I'm glad I watched it with you, because I got to ask, now who's this guy? Like, but it was.
Right, but like, I like those kind of things because I can wish a happily ever after on the main character and not feel bad about it. And I can actually, like, I can root for those characters. I can get behind wanting them to carry on with their lives happy. Whereas I couldn't see that with any of the characters in The Rules of Attraction. I didn't give a shit about any of them because I didn't like any of them. And so I felt like I was some omnipotent god judging harshly the mere mortals that I'm instructed to just watch over. Like, oh god, these assholes again. Stupid. And I'm not allowed to interfere at all. Like, I can't tell them what to do or how to do the thing. So it was very frustrating read.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that a great part of the appeal for you would be, because you had done the college thing and the dorm thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the college dorm thing, but in 1985.
Right.
So it's sort of like the throwback aspects of it, where like nobody has a phone in the room because nobody has cell phones. That they don't really exist, right? Except for the truly rich kids that happen to have a cell phone or a landline in their room wired. Everyone is working off of the one phone on their floor. Like those sort of fun throwbacks, right? And then the relentless drug use, the unprotected sex, because AIDS, what's that? Do you know, if you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And then before everyone became fucking, filthy again, after they decided not to worry. But I thought you would have. I'm not saying that you were one of these promiscuous alcoholic fools on campus, but would have certainly known people like that. And the idea of like coming back to your walking across the quad drunk as fuck at 4 o'clock in the morning, trying to find your way to your dorm, like that sort of business.
I definitely knew people that reminded me of the book, or read the book and it reminded me of people that I knew in college. There we go, that's better. Definitely, 100%, not gonna lie. And I remember when I first met these people in college, I was like fascinated with the differences between us, because I'm like, oh, that's what you really think? You're just gonna say that with your full chest? You just do that? And it was a novelty at the time, and then you kind of got used to it, and you're like, these assholes again. And then you gravitate towards a social group that is of a like mind, and eventually the novelty that was those people is no more, and you're just like, yeah, that's Frederick. He's that way. And you don't talk to them.
Right. I found it some of the most realistic characters. Like they were far gone examples, but things that I know that people do, things that I know I do, where it. So you have Lauren, right? She was one of the characters, right? Her forever fawning for Victor, dear Victor.
Oh, Victor.
Right, but she had completely romanticized him in her own mind, well past anything that he deserved, because he wasn't when you ultimately meet the guy, he's nothing like she, oh my God.
She built him up to be. Yeah.
Yeah, but in her own mind, because he was away in Europe. And what was he doing in Europe? Whoring around, doing drugs. Like that was, the one chapter that you got to hear, or 2 chapters, you got to hear what Victor was up to. It was sad. It's like, and she is back at Camden College thinking that he's like, is he thinking of me right now? No. But what is she doing with her time, though?
She's also
drinking and sleeping with different guys.
Yeah.
But that doesn't interfere with her romanticization of this one guy as the man for her. And so, yeah, there's pieces of that in our behavior. The lying to ourselves, lying to others. And one of the key things about every Bret Easton Ellis novel, all of his narrators are unreliable narrators.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling you a story that they want you to believe for one reason or another. But its relation to the truth is highly questionable. I mean, the book itself, as you may recall, begins with Lauren saying, like, it begins mid-sentence and ends mid-sentence, because it's supposed to be a slice of time.
Right.
The fall semester at Camden College in 1985. Then it begins with her saying, like, let me tell you a story. You may even believe it. There's this girl I know. And then through the course of Lauren telling you that story, you realize she's talking about herself, but referencing in third person. She's that, and that's supposed to introduce to you how unreliable all of these people's stories are. And it's the story of her losing her virginity. She was a virgin when she came to college. My God, that girl was a virgin when arriving here? Yeah. And the fantastic thing of Sean and Paul. Paul describes this romantic relationship he has with Sean, this affair that he has with Sean. It really captures his imagination, and he falls for Sean in a really big way. Sean is absolutely silent about it, never mentions it, not once. So what happened? Did Sean not mention this homosexual relationship that he was in because he's like a dude bro and didn't want to talk about it? Or was it entirely in Paul's imagination? There's cues to lead you both ways. It's never solidly said.
We do not know.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that in and of itself makes it really interesting.
Right.
Especially the night of the party in the quad when they meet each other and the relationship begins, because Sean and Paul both tell that exact same story of running into each other at the keg, but they have wildly different renditions of what happened. But they're compatible with each other, just from different perspectives.
Right.
One, oh, he was flirting, and the other one, I was too drunk to know what I was saying. Okay, so it could have been either way.
Right.
You misread that book, Weebo.
Do you want me to read it again?
No.
Then what do you want from me?
To dive into this new project that I've described headlong, and bring your analyticsums to that.
You want me to bring my spreadsheets along as well?
You know, if you're interested in indexing things,
I
all jokes aside, just for the lulz, I would love to see your calculation of how many ounces of hard liquor are consumed straight on screen. How many cigarettes are smoked?
Per which character? Oh, I'm gonna have to draw this.
For all of them. Because I mean, they're all alcoholics. They're all everybody but Frank Simeon's a smoker. No, wait a minute. Woodrow isn't a smoker either.
I think I can do that.
It's like, oh, cigarette, and it's like, and whenever Frank pours himself a drink, it's always a double at a minimum.
Well, this, sexy times. I don't know. Do they have sexy times in True Detective?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm coming up with column headers. I don't know.
I'm gonna say yes, but depraved perversions would probably be a better.
Number of depraved.
Lovemaking does not occur.
Oh, it's the best kind. Depraved perversions. Oh, I spelled perversions with a B. That's not how you spell it. I will have to quantify how I want my data to look.
Fair enough.
Weebo substance abuse and
curious.
sexy times database.
Because by the end of it, I don't want you to be distracted by what's going on. I think you should just do a tally more than anything, just to make it fast, because I don't want you focusing on that unnecessarily. I just think it would be funny by the end of 8 episodes to be like 8 3/4 hours to be able to say, there was a grand total of this amount of liquor consumed on screen and 782 cigarettes smoked. Like, I did.
I can do that. I can definitely do that. I love how depraved perversions is a category that needs to be written. Indeed, of course. Yes, I'm down.
Depraved Perversions, the title of Sam's autobiography.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting of all of the. You have to like the characters.
I have to. That's not so
that
much
leaves me,
like
that leaves
them
me,
as I want them to. Like, I could see them having a happily ever after, I guess. Although, I don't think that's necessarily true, because I've watched a lot of depressing media, and I've found it to be compelling in the past. So, I'm gonna call myself a liar here, and say that's probably not what it is. it's a theory that is falsifiable. Hey, that's science.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Science rules.
I'm just wondering if you're gonna like end up, because I know what you're talking about, where like there's certain characters. Well, okay, so I'm watching the Hatfields and McCoys right now.
Yes.
The 3-part docudrama,
Yes.
Kevin Costner original. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep wondering when someone is gonna fucking shoot Uncle Jim dead. For God's sake, can somebody
Right.
just fucking die already? Like, yeah, you can. Yeah, I get it. There's like loving to hate a character, or
Right.
the character you love to hate. I mean to say.
Right.
And then there's just like really being turned off by characters, which makes you not want to watch the thing. I'm wondering if you're going to find these characters so unrelatable that it's going to be a tough watch. I don't know.
I don't know if it's unrelatability either.
There's only one way to know.
I know. We're just gonna have to watch it, I guess. Theroy Jenkins. Anyway, so it is 10:14, and I have a day job. It's a school night, Polly.
Fair enough.
So, well, it's usually school night when we do these things anyway, but it's middle of the week, and I have not been getting good sleep anyway, and I just removed the biggest stressor from my life, so I'm hoping not to have a horrible day tomorrow. So, I'd like to go to bed soon. Like, in the next 15 minutes. So, I'm going to say that's a show. Because we're at the 2-hour mark, actually. Believe it or not. 2 hours and 1 minute.
Okay. No, fair enough.
Yeah. Oh, apparently you have a Streamlabs before we hop off.
I do.
I guess.
Okay.
We were just so wrapped up in conversation that you totally.
Oh, I do.
Spaced.
The next 6 minutes. Thank you for the $1. I'm all for Weebo choosing the crap fan fiction, preferably something short, and she can cast the roles that we'd all play, because she knows what all of us would sound like.
There are options here that I could go with. There are truly some options. I just have to curate a list, and who would be best suited for what role, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Let me dive into my backlog of smut.
Nice.
Anyways, so that's a show, ladies and gentlemen. Polly, do you have anything you want to show before we hop off?
Not particularly. Yeah. Did a AAA today. You can go check that out. That's over on my channel. Next one over on Sinatra's channel at 5:30 p.m. Eastern and 5:30 a.m. on Christmas Island. We love you people in Flying Fish Cove. Keep on watching.
Indeed, indeed.
And what?
No, I just said indeed.
Oh, yeah.
I was agreeing with you.
They're a loyal audience, man.
Yeah.
And Norbar this weekend. Woo!
Yeah.
Fun times. Maybe we can actually get Weebo to show up this time when it's not my birthday.
Technically, was it your birthday on the day that you did Noir Bar?
No, it was my birthday celebration that you say you were going to, show up for, and then
I said I might be able to. I made no promises as I was out of town, and I made those out of town plans months ago. So.
Wait, hold the fuck on. Wait. You did actually say, I think so. I think I can make, and you're right. You didn't make any promises, but while you were saying this, you knew that you had out of town plans from months back.
Yeah. Yes,
That's just weird.
I didn't know that we were going to be on the town at the time that you were live streaming, though, is the thing. So I didn't know when you were live streaming, so I couldn't say for certain whether or not I would have been able to step away for a minute to hop on. Because I did bring my laptop in anticipation, but I left the laptop and all of the headphone attachments that I would have been able to use at the house before we left to go on the town. So.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't think you would have appreciated me calling in from a bar. That was noisy.
Yeah.
It would have felt like cheating a little bit. Because, Nora bar, an actual bar.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's terrible stream smut. Avoid it? No. It's great.
Noir bark?
times.
Oh yeah,
great
it's
fun.
it's pretty smutty content.
That's fun.
Your parents wouldn't approve. Anyone's parents, really.
Right, that's fair. Especially not with that $3 dono.
Oh, think I'm gonna tell them if I knew your parents were watching whose legs those are?
Those are some other chicks. I hear they even allow French in there. Disgusting. I agree.
Well,
Being,
yeah, considering that it's
partially
happening in
French anyway.
1942. No, wait a minute. The French hadn't been Vichyized yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
I am still in the works to get all of my content out. I have plenty to submit. I just have to like finish working on it. And that's the taxing thing, is that I just haven't had the time to sit down and actually finish editing.
But you do have something like on deck. You just got to edit together.
I have several somethings on deck. I just have to edit them all together and
Oh,
then
cool.
post them. But I've been out of town for like the last several weekends, and then a boyfriendo came back from Greece, and so I spent time with him. So yeah, it was a whole hullabaloo. Other than that, side quest this Friday, and Tavern Talks next Tuesday. Those I can be certain about, I'm pretty sure. And those are all on the Wicked Guild channel, so that'll be fun. I will be playing your favorite pirate queen, the Nameless Thief. And I'm hoping to have those videos, at least one video out before the end of the month. So I will get cracking on that. I pinky swear, chat. I pinky swear. I just... Work has been a bitch. Life has been busy. You know how it be. On that note, I have been Polly. This has been Dub. No. I have been Weebo.
That's close enough.
I'm so tired. Can you tell? I have been Weebo. This has been Polly. We have been Cocktail Hour. And we'll see you next time. Chat.
All right. Talk to you later. Thank you for the donations. Have a good night. Goodbye.
Yes, thank you
Bye.
much. Later, losers.